Think, Lola?
Yes, people, welcome back to Brendan Pearson Fitness. Today we are at one of the North East's hidden gems in terms of gyms. I'm going to take you through a little bit of a pull session. Lola, if you can hear Lola's panting in the background, she's going absolutely crazy. But yeah, I'm going to take you through a pull session. Don't know if the mics are going to last because I forgot to charge them. So it'll either be a voiceover or I'll just walk through the session. But going to be a little bit of hamstrings, glutes and back in today's session. But this gym is amazing. But you can see it looks a little bit like an asylum. If you go back to some of my videos from about a year ago, I've trained here a few times. It's in Hot Whistle, but it's a very, very good gym. So I'll take you through the session, some very good bits of equipment, and yeah, hope you enjoy the video. Lola's going to go for walkies. You look so excited.
Something staring me down, and I can't help but feel.
So it looks like we have the whole gym to ourselves, but some of the kit in here is ridiculous. Definitely going to try the Nautilus Pulldown. I haven't used one of them ever, really. So going to get warmed up, a little bit of mobility, but we'll jump to exercise one. I'll probably catch you there, and yeah, take you through today's pull session. Right, so warmed up, done 5 minutes on the cross trainer, a little bit of mobility, foam rolling, usual stuff. I've put up videos of my mobility routines and stuff on previous videos, so I'll not talk too much about that. Exercise number one. What you could do as an alternative for this exercise is a seated adduction, so working the adductors. Myself, I've had a double groin tear, so a bilateral groin tear. I've had surgery on it, so I'm going to be doing a Copenhagen Plank. Doing the isometrics is a little bit better, helps reduce the pain in my groins, but just getting some adductor work prior to going into our heavy compound lifts. Trying to get some adductor work on 2 days a week, so I do one on my pull day where I do my deadlifts, and 1 day on my leg day. Just again, if you're a bodybuilder, you want to try and build bigger adductors, and 2, if you're an athlete, you want to have strong adductors, just so it 1 prevents injury and also helps you with changing direction. So adductors, Copenhagen Plank holds. I'm going to go for 2 sets of 45 seconds either side. All it's going to be is foot resting on a bench, similar to a side plank position. Elbow's going to be in line with the shoulder. You're just going to push your hips as high as you can, placing all the pressure on the inside, so in your adductor, pressing down on the bench as much as possible, making sure the hips are staying nice and high, chest out, 45 seconds holds. Oh. So a good thing about doing the Copenhagen planks as well is because you're kind of doing a side plank position, you're getting your shoulders and also your lats firing as well as your core. So when you're going into your deadlifts and stuff, everything is going to be firing, lats are firing, core's firing, so you can brace, keep that spine nice and neutral throughout as well. 2 sets, 45 seconds each side. Right, exercise number 2, we've got a single leg lion hamstring curl. Reason that I'm doing this exercise first before going into my RDLs, which is going to be my next exercise, is 1, because I want to try and get the hamstrings short earlier in the workout. So any muscle, it's harder to get into the shortened range. So like for a bicep curl, the shortened range is that top range of motion. That's the hardest position to get into. And exercises like RDLs are working the hamstrings in the lengthened position. So we want to prioritize shortened range exercise. Same thing for leg extensions for quads. That's going to get your quads nice and short. Then you're going to go onto your squats, which is going to be a little bit more mid to lengthened range stuff. So prioritize your shortened range exercises to start with. Fatigue that muscle early in the shortened range, and then move on to your lengthened stuff. So that's the reason number 1. Number 2 is single leg movements. Now, if you have imbalances between left and right, you might be an athlete, you might be someone who is a physique competitor who has one muscle bigger than the other. You want to work on that weak side first and let it catch up to that stronger side. So for me, my left hamstring is a lot weaker than my right one. I'm going to prioritize that left side, do as many reps as I can on my left. Then whenever I get on my left, I'm going to match it on my right. So it's a lot about imbalances. Also, obviously it's a pull day. I'm doing my hamstring work before my back work because my hamstrings are weaker than my back is in terms of muscle bulk and strength and stuff like that. So prioritize your training. Whatever your weaknesses are, do them earlier in the workout and leave your stronger stuff later in the workout when you're probably a bit more fatigued, but you don't need to put as much effort into them. So prioritize your weaknesses. Same thing if you're doing a push day. If your shoulders are stronger than your chest, Do your shoulder stuff later in the workout and prioritize your chest early on. Whatever it is, biceps, triceps, exact same thing. If you're weak with your biceps, do them earlier in the workout compared to your triceps. So yeah, let's talk, get on with it. We've got 2 sets on this one. I'm gonna start with a higher rep one. So maybe between 10, 15 reps, pushing towards that 15 reps. The reason I do higher rep stuff first on isolation movements is to get that mind muscle connection. You have a little bit more ability to control the weight, control that contraction at a higher rep range because it's lighter weight. Get that kind of feeling and feel that hamstring working. Things I'm thinking about on this is really pushing my hips down into the pad so my hips aren't shooting back up. You also want to line your knee up with the joint, the pivot point on the axis. So knee in line with this little red circle there where the pivot point is on the machine. Pad wants to be probably 2/3 down your shin. You don't want it all the way down towards your Achilles. Just kind of somewhere up, a little bit up, higher up on your calf. And then just driving all the way up, little pause and contraction. 3 seconds on the way down, little pause at the bottom, drive up again, keep them hips pushed into the pad. Many reps as I can between the 10 and 15 rep range, as much weight as possible. And then we'll do a heavier set afterwards, just the 2 sets. Right, so next exercise is going to be our main compound exercise for the whole day. Again, it's going to be prioritizing hamstrings, glutes, but hitting a lot of erectors, a little bit of lats, a lot of upper back, and obviously your grip strength as well. RDLs, things that you want to think about this, things that I commonly see wrong. People take the stance way too wide. You want to directly have your feet, knees, ankles, everything in line with your hips. So that's about the position you want to be. Some people might have the feet ever so slightly pushed outwards. Depends on what feels best for you and your hips. But what you want to think about on the RDLs is making sure your knees stay locked in. I say too many people do RDLs, they're pushing the hips back fine, but then they get to a certain point and the knees start driving forward. To target the hamstrings and glutes, then knees need to be fixed in position so our hamstrings are locked in and we're not bringing the quads into play. As soon as we drive the knees forward, our hamstrings are starting to lengthen, so less emphasis is going to be put on the hamstrings and a bit more on the quads. Make sure as well when you're in that top position, keep the shoulders back, chest out, don't have your shoulders shrugged up, keep them nice and down, suck your stomach in. Imagine that someone's going to dig you in the stomach, or give you a punch in the stomach. Keep it braced. The good exercise to work on this is dead bugs, which I've done plenty of times in previous videos, so check that out. Going to do as many warm-up sets as you need. We're building up to one heavy set of 6 to 10 reps, or probably 6 to 8 reps more like. One light set between 10 and 12 reps. Warm up, I'll probably take 4 or 5 warm-up sets just to make sure my back's warmed up, because this is a big exercise where a lot of people can go wrong and you can lose your form. Make sure it's right. And for my top set, I'll probably stick my straps on as well, just so the grip isn't going to be a limiting factor in what I'm lifting. So a few warm-up sets, push them hips back, keep them knees locked in a tiny little bend. Pause at the bottom, drive up through your heels. As well, a little target to aim for in terms of range of motion is getting the bar probably about halfway down your shins. Again, everyone's going to be different. Some people's hamstrings might be way tighter. You might only be able to get to there without the knees going forward. Start with that, build up, but don't sacrifice range of motion for load. Make sure you've got that range of motion and it's staying consistent, which is why videoing is really beneficial for your exercises. Let's get to the top set. Right, so next, hamstrings ticked off. We've done our hamstring curls, we've done our deadlifts. Now I want to move on to some back movements. Starting with mag grip, seated rows. I haven't done these with mag grips before, but we're starting off hitting the lats in the shortest range first. So trying to get the lats as short as possible, driving the elbows back. I sometimes do these single arms, but we're going to move on to a single arm movement next. Again, short range first, similar to where we hit the hamstrings before our deadlifts. Same thing, building up to a heavy set, 6 to 8 reps, 1 back off set. Make sure we're keeping our chest upright, a little bit lean forward, but trying to keep our elbows tucked in. The more we flare our elbows, the more upper back we're gonna get. But I wanna target my lats on this one. Ideal thing about these handles is they line up perfectly with my shoulders. Most people would use something like one of these attachments, which is really narrow for seated rows. All that means is when we're going on that narrow grip, our elbows are coming out to the side and we're not directly getting the lats in the line of motion that we want. So elbows in line with the shoulders. This is probably the perfect grip for me. If it's not, get something like a lat pull down bar, stick 2 D handles on it and just line your hands up with your shoulders. And again, drive those elbows back and down rather than up towards the chest. Build up to our top set. So Mike's just dialing in and I just explained through this exercise before, so just bear with me on this one. Working a little bit more of a length in range exercise now. So we've done our seated row before, trying to really emphasize and fatigue that short range, which again is the hardest part to get into, the hardest range of motion to get into in terms of any movement, in terms of any muscle, I should say. Now it's a little bit more overhead, so we're going to target the lat and a little bit more of a length in range. Doing the pull down single arm. You could use a lat pull down, you can use D handles, you can do it with 2 arms, but the good thing about this machine is, one, you can rotate your wrist and get that elbow in a nice position so you can drive it directly in line with the shoulder, in line with the lat, and squeeze to the side. And also, because it's single arm, I can drive down and slightly lean to the side to contract my lat. So if you just sit upright with your elbow to your side, squeeze to the side, you should be able to feel your lat contract, or it will contract a little bit just by crunching to the side. So we're going to pull down, drive that elbow down, slightly back. So we're not rolling backwards, we're pulling that elbow down, crunch to the side, control it back up. Very good machine, this one. If you've got it, make the most of it. I'm going to do 2 sets, 1 heavy one, 1 lighter one, all out to failure just as usual. Right, so finishing off most of our pull stuff, so finish on the back exercises with T-bar rows, chest supported. Again, because we've loaded the lower back through the RDLs, we're going to give it a little bit of a rest with the chest support. A little bit more upper back movement. I've sometimes been putting in dumbbell shrugs instead of this, but seeing this gym's got this machine, work it a little, might as well make the most of it. Our elbows on this one are going to be a little bit higher, so we are focusing on the upper back. So we've done 2 lat movements. This one's just going to fatigue the lower back. Good thing about the T-bar, the higher that you go through that range of motion, the easier the weight gets. So, talked about before, the shortened range is the hardest range to get into. The weight's going to decrease, so throwing this exercise in later in your session when you're a bit more fatigued is probably a good idea, because again, you can get a little bit higher up, slightly lift that chest off the pad, keep the elbows high, a little pause at the top, control it back down. Going to play around with the weight, just get 2 sets in, probably more towards like 12 reps on both sets, see what works. Right, finishing off pull, I've been doing calf raises 3 days a week, trying to increase my frequency because I have no calves whatsoever. So if you have a muscle group that's lagging, increase your frequency to maybe 2-3 times per week. That'll help it grow. Obviously just manage the amount of volume you're doing. So I'm doing about 3 or 4 sets of calf raises on each workout. So I do them normally on a Monday, do them on a Thursday, and do them on a Saturday. Hitting different ranges. So today I'm going to be doing seated variations. One day I do a leg press calf raise, and the other day I do a standing calf raise. So hitting different kind of muscle groups, different range of motions. 3 sets between 15-20 reps to failure. Pull session done. I would do some rear delts and biceps, but I'm going to do them tomorrow on my push dominant day. Session done, so like I said, I finished off with them calf raises. Little tip on there, which I didn't say, in terms of calf raises, make sure you're controlling it down pause at the bottom, and then drive up nice and quick, pause at the top. If you're rushing your calf raises and bouncing up and down, you're just going to be loading your tendons rather than the actual muscle. Take your time on them. Shouldn't be able to walk properly after 3 sets of calf raises. But that is the session done. Very, very good gym in the absolute middle of nowhere. So if you're ever in Hull Whistle, get down. I think it's just called the Muscle Factory, whatever it's called. But yeah, gonna get some food, absolutely starving. Sessions always take a bit longer when I'm filming them, but it's been very good. There we go, session done, pull day done. If you want more walkthrough videos like that when I keep the mic on us and take you around the gym, let me know down below what you'd like to see. Give the video a like if you did enjoy it, share it with a friend, all that sort of good stuff. Follow me on Instagram, links are down below. Yeah, like I said, hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time, over and out.